Iran's Revolutionary Guards Corps have threatened to target U.S. companies across the region, calling on employees to evacuate the sites. The guards, on their official SEPA news website, said, and I quote, "Employees of American companies are requested to leave these areas immediately. These areas will soon be targeted by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps." It was not immediately clear which companies would be targeted, but last week, the Tasnim news agency published a list of potential targets on Telegram that included the offices of tech giants such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and NVIDIA in the Gulf countries. Well, this is the latest coming in from the IRGC, and the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps have issued a statement threatening to target U.S. companies across the region, calling on employees to evacuate the sites. The Guard Corps, on their official SEPA news website, said, and I quote, "Employees of American companies are requested to leave these areas immediately. These areas will soon be targeted by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps." It was not immediately clear which companies would be targeted, but last week, the Tasnim news agency published a list of potential targets on Telegram that included the offices of tech giants such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and NVIDIA in the Gulf countries. And this statement was issued just after President Trump, who's hosting a luncheon at the White House to commemorate the Kennedy Center. He says, "We are destroying Iran's capacity to disrupt vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has been completely obliterated. The Navy, the military, and the Air Force is no longer there in Iran." He also pointed out to why the United States attacked the Karg Island and why they spared the oil pipelines. He says that if they're going to attack the pipelines, it will only take 5 minutes. Let's talk to our correspondent, Susan Teherani. She is in New York. She's joining us on the phone. Susan Teherani, this latest warning by the IRGC on U.S. companies based in the Gulf countries is quite a worrying trend coming from Iran. What is the United States, or what is the Washington reaction to this threat being issued by the IRGC?
So we're hearing from President Trump right now, Eric, as you mentioned. He's having a press conference about something not related, but he is talking about Iran to a certain extent. The United States is issuing its own threats against Iran. As you mentioned, the infrastructure in Karg Island, he said that they haven't been targeted if the Strait of Hormuz is not opened, and I assume possibly if these threats by Iran continue, then the United States would go back again and bomb those as well. But the issue with this threat by Iran is it's not immediately clear which companies would be targeted. Although last week, Tasnim, one of the Iranian news agencies, on its Telegram said that, tech giants like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA, all of these bases in Gulf countries, they're all fair play. We'll have to wait to see what President Trump is going to say about this, if he's going to address it or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if this question is addressed through Caroline Leavitt, his White House press secretary, and we'll get some kind of reaction with that. But I think it's going to be threats replying to threats, as we have seen.
Well, the statements being made by the president at the White House seem to be not different from what he has been saying for over a week now. He said that they've targeted over 7,000 targets in Iran. Iran has completely been obliterated by the U.S. military, the Air Force, the military, and the what did he say? The Navy is no longer there, and it's no longer functioning in Iran. He also said that the reason why they attacked the Karg Island is because they wanted no military presence on the island, and he said he spared the oil pipelines, but if he was to decide to attack the oil pipelines, it will take him 5 minutes.
Yeah, they are very similar, and I think that we hear from CENTCOM as well. It's not so much, I think they are pretty on on track and on schedule to reach their objectives when it comes to having air superiority and attacking Iran's navy and Iran's military, and that's why you don't really see any Iranian aircraft in the sky. The problem with Iran right now is it's almost carrying out what many are calling now as kind of insurgency, where it has these low-cost drones, and then it also has still these missile launchers that are very deep into the ground, which the United States has not been able to reach. But I think those drones and those drone attacks are what is really causing a problem for the United States. And also what is concerning about those is that, Iran may be, because they're so cheap, Iran may be able to sustain this kind of war that it's having right now for a longer period than the U.S. anticipated.
The President also criticized the countries or allies that are not supporting the United States when it comes to opening the Strait of Hormuz. He says, or he has criticized the United Kingdom and also especially Europe, the whole of Europe, for not supporting the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. And in fact, Germany has reacted. Germany says this is not their war. Susan.
Yeah, this was anticipated considering the fact that the president seems very frustrated at this point. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hear a harsher tone towards these countries as he has before, to kind of say, we're not the ones that are benefiting from the Strait of Hormuz. It's your country, so come and clean it up yourself, which I think would not only, anger those European countries, which have somewhat been disrespected by the president a lot in the past few months, but also the question is really capability. Does Europe by itself, NATO, without the United States, has the capability to take on something like this? But I think Japan is going to be very interesting because he's expected to meet with the United States ambassador to Japan later this afternoon. It'll be interesting to hear a readout about that if we have it and see whether or not he can at least persuade a country like Japan to possibly help, again, which is very unlikely.
Susan is our eyes and ears in the United States. She's also a correspondent in New York. Susan, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you.